Welcome back to RFL, everyone. Listen, now it's time to get the Republican perspective here on not only what they expect to hear tonight from the president, but also how they're probably going to respond, remember, with a rebuttal right after the president's address. And Andrew Whitman, who's down there in D.C. today, he spoke earlier to New York Congressman Chris Gibson about what he expects to hear from the president this evening.
Thanks, Rich. Congressman, we're about to hear from a lot of Democrats from across our region who are going to say the State of the Union could be a whole lot better were it not for House Republicans. I'm sure you're going to give us a different perspective.
Well, look, we've got to work together. Regardless of what party you're in, we're all Americans first. And I think that there are some things we can absolutely agree upon. Number one is we all agree that we need more opportunity, expansion of the economy, more jobs. So that's really where we should be focusing tonight. And, I mean, candidly, we should have done more together before we even got to this day. I will tell you that I am encouraged that we got the budget agreement. It was important that we did that. You know, the sequester was never meant to be the primary plan. It was always the backup plan. And we got a budget forward that helps replace that sequester that was hurting our national security, was hurting our domestic priorities. And it's fiscally conservative, moving us back towards a balanced budget. So now, looking into 2014, encouragingly, we do have the Farm Bill. And we'll vote on that on Wednesday. And I think that that's going to be a good bill for rural America. But there's still more that we can be doing to create jobs.
The president is going to talk a lot about inequality, or is expected to tonight. That's going to be a focus on the minimum wage, unemployment insurance, food stamps, things like that. Do you have a different idea in mind? And why would that idea be incorrect from the president?
Well, let me say this. As someone who grew up in a working class family, you know, my dad was a mechanic. He was in the building trades. We had some good times, and we had some really challenging times. My dad spent a good portion of 1978 and 79 out of work. So, you know, I understand the challenges, and I think we need a safety net. But I'll tell you one thing. If my dad were still alive today, you know, the thing that he would underscore is that what he wanted most of all was to be working. And for those that aren't working, the biggest thing that they want is a job. So as we have a safety net and ensure that, what we really need to be doing is working together to expand opportunities, to create jobs. And when you talk about income inequality, absolutely we can do better on that, but the way to do that is to reindustrialize, to bring manufacturing back to our country. Manufacturing and construction jobs, if you think about it, those are the kind of jobs that my dad had. And those jobs generally pay. What he wanted most of all was to be working. And for those that aren't working, the biggest thing that they want is a job. So as we have a safety net and ensure that, what we really need to be doing is working together to expand opportunities, to create jobs. And when you talk about income inequality, absolutely we can do better on that, but the way to do that is to reindustrialize, to bring manufacturing back to our country. Manufacturing and construction jobs, if you think about it, those are the kind of jobs that my dad had. And those jobs generally pay good wages, $65,000, $80,000 a year for upstate New York. Those are decent wages, and they have benefits with them and a pension. So if you're talking about addressing income inequality, then you want to be about pro-growth policies that, and by the way, I absolutely believe we can bring this industry back to America. There are examples already in my district, the 11 counties in upstate New York, where we brought manufacturing jobs back from, in one case in Oneonta, from Japan.
All right. We were saying before the interview and even during, you can't say jobs enough if you're a Republican, right?
You can't say jobs enough. I'm kind of tired of the word itself because it's just been so overused. But you know, the point is right, and I think the point that Republicans have to make is that we need to do the smart things in order to bring jobs back, and that might be, you know, cutting the corporate tax rate, which sounds terrible rhetorically. It's like you're giving more breaks to the corporations.
But the president has been open to it.
He's been pretty good on that.
He's been open to it, but he's also said, listen, they'll take American jobs. These companies go overseas and pay nothing, you know, and basically use the tax code to shelter all the money overseas. Nobody wants to hear that part of it, but it is interesting. If you're a Republican, Gibson did a great job there, Dominic. He says, listen, we can work together. It's all about jobs. And unfortunately, if you're in trouble here, who's been in the big chair for the last 5 years? Not us.
The congressman had me sold watching that watching that interview. I'm like, hey, jobs, you know, jobs, and like, bring them up city or upstate. Great message. But the problem, his own party can't get along with each other. But here's what's remarkable about that. Yes, the Republicans are taking the hit for that, but they're not going down alone. guess whose numbers are going down with them?
But you know what's interesting to me is
The
the polls
president.
support you 100%, right? Everything you said, the president's off 11 points from last year to this year. I know it's a tough sell, but why can't he say, time out, everybody? Does everybody remember in 2008 what happened before he even walked into office? Does everybody remember we were talking depression stuff, right? You know, I didn't do this. TARP happened before I even got here, right? So it's a tough thing to say, but it's not like he walked in with 2% unemployment here and then a booming economy. We know people probably personally who literally sold every stock they had and forget about lost the house to foreclosure. So I don't know how he can say that. I know he wants to say that, but how does he indicate, remember where we began to where we are right now?
You're 1,000% correct. But the problem for this president
What have you
is
done for me lately?
That's right. When you're in office, nobody wants to hear what you inherited. You're in the seat now. It's your responsibility, and that's what he's dealing with.
And he's already said that. I mean, he's gone there a million times. I think you can't say it yourself as the president, but you know, Bill Clinton did it in the Democratic convention. He threw him a real lifeline and probably turned the momentum of
Outsourced
that
it
race.
to surrogates, right? Yeah.
Right.
But it needs to be said more and more. You know, I agree with you. Let's remember what this country was like right before I took office. Maybe he can't say it, but get the surrogates out there. He's drowning right now in terms. I mean, I'm not going to say he's completely done, but his poll numbers could go either way right now.
But it's also interesting. The only poll numbers lower than the president and Democrats in the House are Republicans in the House. They're even worse. So I don't know how people read this. It's certainly not a bull market, you know, to be an elected official right now. There's someone said we could have a wave election. I don't know if it's true or not. But it's just saying who's worse and the public believing it, right?
And how do you get some confidence restored in the government again?
Yeah, that's 100% right.
I mean, even conservatives and Republicans, and I can count myself one. I mean, we have a lot of problems with big government, but you need to have some confidence in government.
Yeah.
I mean, you have to have a working
and nobody
government.
thinks the rollout of Obamacare was anything short of a mess. So to that end, it'll be interesting. I'm very curious what the president says about that tonight, if anything, if his signature legislative accomplishment even gets addressed. All right. When we come back, getting back on the road to immigration reform, we've already seen some excerpts tonight. It will get hit on. The president, in fact, will be recognizing someone who of this issue is a very personal one that will be in the audience. Can the president restart the push for change that can affect millions of illegal immigrants? And believe it or not, a lot of Republicans would like to see that happen. The question is, which ones? We'll be back to talk about more of that as we go out, a live picture of our nation's capital.